My friends, chess is a painful game. No matter what level you are, no matter how good you are, how bad you are, how many games you play, what time control you play, you'll always have those moments where you feel like you just missed something or you made a big blunder and you feel really bad because you lost the game. However, I think that this is just a natural part of the chess process. And no matter what level we are, we can all take some mutual catharsis in seeing ourselves fail as well as seeing others fail. Like, we laugh at ourselves, we laugh at others, we laugh at me, and it's all just a cycle going round and round and round. And maybe one day I'll feature one of my own games in this series too, but today we are strictly in the phase of taking out our frustrations in chess on innocent 100 ELO players. Well, not exactly 100, because today's game is played between two Brazilian players, one of which is 138 and one of which is 310. Now, at 310, you might expect he's just going to win the game, but no. This was an intense, an epic, and a sensational battle between two players fighting desperately, vying for the crown and that sweet, sweet 8 ELO points. So let's begin. White opens the game with a very principled move, e4. Nothing wrong about that. Black responds, c5, a Sicilian defense. White goes d3, which I haven't seen, but apparently it's a book move, so I don't really have an issue with it. But I do very much have an issue with the move g5, which just loses a pawn. This bishop can just take, and you are down a pawn on move 3, which is never good. But instead of that, White does the classic 100, 200, 300, 400, up to like 1,000 thing, where you see something, which you can just take, but you decide to attack it instead by playing knight to h3. Now, first of all, you did not need to do that. You could have just taken the pawn. Second of all, if you wanted to attack it, you could have at least gone to f3, which should have developed the knight to the center. And I mean, there is g4 here, but I don't think he saw that. So knight h3, and black just goes knight to f6 and loses the pawn. Now, of course, you're going to take it. No, you play d4, and you lose this pawn. Now, you can take this one back, but like after that, apparently you have like d5, and this is a very strong position for black. But, it's probably okay. So d4, and black instead takes here, which is not a bad move, It's not bad. It's like a slight inaccuracy, but even the engine doesn't seem to think it's a blunder. So I'm fine with it. But what I am not fine, again, like with g5 earlier, what I am not fine with is the move bishop to b5. Bishop to b5 is a terrible move because, first of all, it does nothing. It does develop the bishop, but the bishop can just be kicked out. Black can win some tempo, and like if your bishop goes here, like, why did you waste the move going there, But also there is queen a5 check. Queen a5 check just forces this bishop to b1, and now black is up 4 points of material in the first 5 moves. But instead of that, black's like, let's develop some pieces, and plays e6. Okay, nothing wrong about e6. It's not the best move. You still lose this pawn, and you didn't take this pawn, but, it's fine. And now, white actually does a pretty good move here, which is queen takes d4. Queen takes d4 is good because it defends this pawn and also pins this knight to the rook. Yeah, the rook over there. And black breaks the pin, which is pretty good. And now the best move here is to play bishop takes g5, pressuring the knight, and the rook cannot take because the knight defends the bishop. So this move, knight to h3, which I was saying was bad, actually ends up being good in this situation because you didn't take it directly, so now you can take it. But after rook to g8, instead of moving the bishop, white decides to move their knight and block the bishop. Because, I don't know, this is just the classic 100 ELO mindset. So after knight to d2, black plays b6, which, is okay. The engine doesn't like it, but you're going to develop your bishop and you're going to go for the pawn. So it's not an awful move. The knight does defend it, but knowing white, they're probably going to move the knight at some point. Bishop c4, which, why? Like, look, you go bishop b5, you hang a bishop, and a few moves later, you just go back to c4. Like, couldn't you have just moved to c4 in the first place? Like, why did you even go to b5? And black does the same thing by playing bishop to b4, which is just nothing. Like, you can just attack this bishop, and in fact, if the bishop goes here, it gets trapped. So, that's something to be wary of. So we do play a3 here, and here, black actually plays a pretty good move. He goes knight to c6, attacking the queen. So you can't take this bishop, because the queen will be taken. So of course, white takes the bishop, and black doesn't take the queen. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Like, this is the type of play you see in low-level games, which is like, why? Like, why did you even go knight to c6 if it was not to take the queen? Like, did you think that you were defending the bishop, even though a pawn was attacking the bishop, which is worth 1 point? Like, what was the idea? So ab4, knight b4, and typically, typical 100 ELO play, white goes c3 and attacks the knight onto c2, where it will promptly fork the queen and the king. So, black doesn't take the queen, white allows black to take the queen, and black goes knight to d3 check and loses the knight. I don't know. I mean, this is insane. Like, what does this even do? Like, it's protected 2 different ways, and even if, like, the king moved, what, are you gonna just take this? Like, why are you trading when you're down material, Like, there's nothing good that comes out of this move. So white takes the knight, and black just goes a5. To even begin to say I do not have any idea what the move a5 is an understatement. Like, where are you going? What is this? Like, you should develop your pieces. Like, go here, for example, and maybe try to castle. I mean, you can't really castle because there's no c-pawn, but try to salvage this position despite being down 2 pieces, because your opponent is 100 and is probably going to blunder something. So rook b1. Again, I mean, you are up 2 pieces. You're 138 against a 310. Obviously, you're going to be feeling pretty hyped here. You're happy. But that happiness should not overshadow the fact that you still need to develop your pieces. Like, I would like to play b4 here. Like, this wouldn't even be that bad of a move, because if you take, you lose the rook. So d4 would be a nice move, and you can develop your bishop. Maybe you can win the pawn. I don't know. So rook b1, and black goes knight to g4, which I don't really get. Like, what are you doing with this? Like, you can't really go onto any of the squares, and you should instead focus on developing your bishop and trying to put some pressure with the knight here to the pawn on e4. But white evidently just saw what black did, moving here, and just copies black and loses the knight. Yeah, that's just a clean knight blunder. And now, you even have some pressure here. Like, this side is pretty weak for the king, and the rook already moved, so you can't castle there. But, like, if you castle here, it can get pretty hairy. Like, you can go knight takes h2, and you're threatening mate right here, so you have to go g3, and it looks a little risky. And, in fact, if the knight wasn't here, you'd go here and fork the queen. But instead of that, black just goes rook to f8 for some reason. And now white just insists on losing the knight and takes on e6, thinking that it is a fork of the queen and the rook. But finally, black takes, knight c4. Okay, that's actually a pretty good move. You're threatening to take this pawn. Knight, queen, what is happening with my mouse? Knight, queen, attack pawn, and it's a fork of the rook and the bishop. So black decides to trade the queen, which is not a terrible move. And white goes here. Yes, white just loses the queen, doesn't take it back, and decides, you know what, let's attack the knight. For absolutely no reason, attack the knight. And now, in fact, there's queen takes f2, and the king is just dead. You can take this pawn, for example, and the position is just totally collapsing, and you're up a queen. It's very bad. But after that, black's like, ooh, look, free knight, let's take the knight and hang our queen. And now white is back to being winning, but instead of that, white plays bishop h6 for absolutely no reason at all. First of all, now the queen can take here and attack the rook. And second of all, it just hangs the bishop. Like, and you can't even take this knight if you take on e4, and the rook's under attack. See, like, you gotta move your rook and then lose the bishop, and now you're down 12 points of material, and you're just totally lost. So bishop h6, and here, for some reason, black did not think to take anything or to move the queen, but instead, oh no, the bishop attacks my knight, let's defend the knight. Which, yes, you are defending the knight, and I guess you're attacking the rook, so you moved it out of the way, but, like, I mean, like, this is two squares, and this is also two squares. How do you not see that? Like, what is the 300 ELO vision here? I have no idea. Rook d1. Okay, so now after queen takes e4, there is no rook attack, which means that this bishop can escape. But, I mean, like, just take the queen. Like, just take the queen. So rook d1, and now we go bishop to d7, which, I mean, you hang the queen again, but like at this point you're actually winning because even if you take this, you can take the bishop and you're up a piece. But no, instead of that, white just loses the rook. White just moves the rook to d1, bishop moves, loses rook for bishop, king takes, f4. So the queen is hanging for like the 200th time, and finally it takes on e4 and escapes. And the king goes to d2 because I don't know. And here, black just sees, ooh, I can give a check to the king by taking here and hangs the queen to the bishop again. Just pure queen hang. But instead of that, the king just moves and black takes the bishop. Okay. So, very chaotic middle game. Queen hung about 5 times. Rook hang, bishop hang. And now black is up 15 points of material, and it is completely over. Bishop b5 check. Okay, I mean, what else are you going to do? Just give a random check. King d6. Rook d1. Okay, we're attacking the king. The king goes to c5, attacks the bishop, and the bishop goes to f1 for some reason. Like, I mean, like, move it more aggressively, or play c4, you know, like, try to set up something here. I know there's, like, knight e3, but, like, you know, you get it, right? You got to keep it safe. So bishop f1. Now, you can still go knight e3 here, but obviously black doesn't see it. Rook d8. Okay, very good. You're claiming the file, and you're offering a trade of rooks. Now, if you are white, it is imperative that you do not trade the rook. I know it's bad to relinquish the open file, but like even if you go here, like you don't really have many prospects, but you aren't going to have prospects anyways, and maybe you have like rook a4, rook c4, and there will be some kind of attack, like maybe the king goes here and the rook takes the knight or something. I don't know. Like, try to set yourself up to make comebacks, and to make comebacks, you need lots of pieces on the board, so you should preserve your rook, preserve your bishop, try to attack the king, try to win the queen, try to do something to come back here. But of course, since I am just advising white to not trade the rook, considering this is a game being shown on this channel, white of course trades the rook. Rook d8, b3. I mean, like, you have 4 pawns and a bishop left, like, okay, fine, b3. You don't really have anything anyways. Now knight takes h2. So now black is up 16 points of material. White proceeds to make it 17, losing the pawn. Black doesn't take. Like, I mean, it's just a free pawn. Like, take, and you have a passed pawn here. You're going to make a second queen, and you're good. So you just go back, and now you should move this bishop, but of course white moves the pawn and loses the bishop, and black takes the pawn instead of the bishop when he could have taken the pawn on the previous move, because why not? So a takes b4. Now white rescues the bishop. Good. e5. Okay, I mean, it's kind of a discombobulated approach. I don't like how you're not using the queen, the knight, or the rook. Like, look, even if you do this, like, I'm fine with this, because, like, now he has just 2 pawns, and, like, you can just give checks, win all of the pawns, make queens, checkmate, win the game. So e5, g4. g4, loses the pawn, just loses the pawn, but you know what, whatever, like, you're totally losing, and black goes knight f3 here. Maybe it's a mouse slip, like, maybe he wanted to take, but I don't know, maybe he just wanted to move the knight, and I'm not really sure. King b3. Okay. So we're just doing random moves now, and in fact, king b3 loses the bishop. Just to make it clear, it just loses the bishop. But queen to d6. Okay, so instead of taking the bishop, black does the 300 ELO thing of creating a battery on an undefended piece. So now the bishop takes on h7. You know, I mean, what else can you do? You're going to take this pawn. Maybe at some point you're going to go take this pawn, and this pawn will somehow become a queen. But it turns out that bishop takes h7 ends up having an immediate payoff because at 300 ELO, even though the bishop has just moved off of the square, the queen still goes to d3 and gets taken by the bishop. I mean, I mean, like, what? The bishop was just there. The bishop still covers d3. Why did you go there? Okay, but now black sees this. He could have seen that earlier, but okay. Now it has 2 pawns. Black is up 9 points of material. It's over. Okay, 8 points of material. I don't know why you just had to lose that pawn, but okay. King d6. Now, you should have gone to block the pawn. You shouldn't have gone here, because, like, there's nothing here. There is this pawn, but it literally cannot advance due to the knight. This pawn is more scary. You should block it. You should push. Easy. So I go b6. I mean, what else can we do? And we go rook d4. Okay. This is also one thing you should not do. You should not give pointless checks. Now, I know you can take this, but, like, I mean, the king and the pawn are just running up together, and you might let it queen. But okay, if you want to take on g4 and, like, go back to g8 and stop this pawn, sure, do that. No. See, this is what I don't like about how black is playing this. Black is up. Black is 310 against the 138. This should be easy. Black is making it a lot harder for themselves by giving these checks, and now the king walks up and you don't know what to do. King to d7. Okay, but now b7, and now what do you do? Now there is king c7 here, and the rook can come back and stop the pawn. But of course, black messes up and goes rook to c5, and the game is a draw again. Somehow, like, if we just go back, like, a few moves ago, black was up 17 points of material. He had a free bishop right here. He didn't take it, and, like, 10 moves later, it's a draw. Knight d4. I mean, like, knight d4, come on. At least give a check now. Like, give some checks. Maybe he'll, like, go towards the queen and, like, get pinned. I don't know. So knight d4, we go back. I guess we're trying to surround the king. Pretty good. Queen b1. Now, you should be giving checks here as white. Try to harass the king, like maybe do something like this. Try to get into a threefold repetition, because you're not going to be able to win this game with just a queen and a pawn against a rook and a knight and 2 pawns. This is just a clean draw. You can't, like, break through. So knight d4, queen b1, rook c6 check. Okay, now we're giving checks. Rook c7, and the king walks to the back rank, and now it's checkmate in 2. Check, here, mate. Very, very common mating pattern with the rook and the knight. You got to be careful for this. You know, like, the knight covers these squares, allowing the rook to come in and cover the back rank. So you should have given checks. You should have been more proactive. But instead of playing knight to c6, black goes rook c6. No reason at all. And white goes here and loses the queen. And now black is back to being completely winning. I mean, like, what, how did you, okay, g5, rook b1, okay, look, rook b1, you're cutting the king off. It's actually not a pointless check because the king blocks these squares off. Never mind, my bad. The king goes here, and now king c7, and wherever the king goes, rook a1 is mate because the knight covers. Okay, knight c6, king a6, okay, whatever. Now, no, this is not what you should do. You should keep the king cut off and either bring your king or promote your pawn in order to checkmate. This is something very, very bad. Like, you should not do this. This is something you should avoid. Don't give pointless checks. As I said earlier, when you gave pointless checks to the king here, you allowed the king to walk up with the pawn. You are giving your opponent time in the endgame when you give pointless checks. So rook a1 check, king to b6, knight to e7. Okay, good. We are blocking the square. The pawn can't go. King c5. Again, don't give pointless checks. Okay, king b4, knight d5, king a3. No. The king is cut off. Just advance your pawn, make a queen, win the game. Do not do this. Okay, rook a4, fine. Rook c, see? Don't do this. You are 310 against a 138, and you got dangerously close to throwing the game from a plus 17 position. Don't do this. Be more careful. Okay, fine. No, what? No, you could have moved the knight back to defend the pawn, but you hang your knight. Okay, fine. Like, now you can't really push this pawn, but, like, bring your king, you know, try to take this pawn, move these 2 pawns together, mate with your promoted queens and rook. No, this is very bad. No more pointless now you hung the pawn. And this is why you shouldn't be giving these pointless checks. And you know why you should especially not give these checks at 300 level? Because at 300 level, black gives a check with the rook on e4 and hangs the rook, and now it's just a dead draw. King d6, king f5, king d5. And now white is winning. King can't do anything, you take, and you just queen, and you win. But of course, this game would not be complete without one final plot twist to send it off. As white goes here, black took, white took, and the game ended in a king versus king draw.